What's up, folks? Let's get some artwork. Let's bring that microphone within range so you can hear my voice. And let's see if we're live. We'll get some artwork done this morning. We're doing some Yugoloth art for, hey, looks like we are live. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Hey, looks like we are live. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay, that's tolerable. Let's grab that link here, drop it into the social medias real quick, into the X Twitter, and I'm going to do the Discords. Give me a hot second here to get that stuff up to speed. I'm going to do an intro here real quick with you guys, and then we'll get to work this morning. So, one more second, prepping through. All right, hey, my name's Phil Crinny. What's up? I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, I publish online, and we're currently creating an adventure for Eberron. It's for 4 to 5 characters, level 7 to 8 in the Carnwood, fighting necromancers and monsters. It's called Crystals of Mabar. Here, let me prep that up here for you. Crystals of Mabar, there you go. Here's the book cover that we created for the thing. Yeah, so my origin story here real fast. Yeah, I've been a DM since 1987. I've been a freelance illustrator since 1999. I've been an Eberron enthusiast since 2005, and I've been creating content on the DMsGuild for 5th edition since 2017, but I have yet to publish an adventure. I've done a number of layers and random encounter lists and encounters in different publications, but this is my first of my own, making it with my friend Andy Headley, as well as Stuart Braz. It will publish on DMsGuild when it's done. Let's see. Just to get current here, move background forward. There we go. I'm on the X Twitter platform. If you are also there, I'm at Phil Kearney. So you can catch coupons, look-sees at different illustrations that we've done, notifications when I go live, works in progress, and coupons, blah, blah, blah. So if you're interested, catch me at X Twitter, and then here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when I'm live in the future. We're at episode 332 here of creating the assets for this adventure. You can see the entire playlist here. Here's a slew of books that I've already created on DMsGuild, mostly character and DM options for running campaigns in different ways, with different mechanics or different subclass options. Check it out if you're interested. And thank you for any support, mostly in the form of likes, subscribes, sharing. But if you want to buy some nice stuff too, bless you. So we finished this Yugoloth yesterday. This is a Yugoloth, and it is the result of a ritual to create a manifest zone to the plane of Mabar. It works, but the Eye of Mabar, the artifact, tricks the ritual user into using it to create the manifest zone. It opens a gate to the plane of Mabar, and it transforms the caster into a Yugoloth. If the ritual is successful, the manifest zone stabilizes and becomes permanent. The portal that you're creating at the Nexus opens and is permanent, and you become an Ultraloth, which is a CR13 general of the Yugoloth army. If there were an army, they would be in charge. But if the ritual fails, the manifest zone collapses, and the caster transforms into a Yugoloth, which is only a CR4 creature, and it's abandoned and stuck on the prime material plane. So all it can really do is fight and kill its way out of wherever it's at, and get and basically get replaced by the next hotness, the next caster that's going to attempt the ritual and test their luck to see if they can survive the experience to ascend to Yugoloth power. So, and it's brutal like that on purpose, because Yugoloth are cruel bastards. So it makes sense that if you fail, you're destroyed, essentially. Because if they create a manifest zone to Mabar, if there's not a strong, the word I'm looking for is a strong protector of the gate. It's just going to fall to whomever might want to harm the realm of Mabar. And so you don't want to give them basically like open border to come in and mess up your plane of existence. So they force the ritual to collapse if they can't find someone strong enough to maintain it. And thus the ritual waits. The current necromancer Solzu, who is attempting the ritual, is in fact would in fact be strong enough if he wasn't betrayed by his allies, quote unquote allies. You have to. This isn't something that's, you know, advertised a lot by the ritual, but you have to sacrifice human lives or sentient lives to feed it hit dice. Because it takes 46 days to, apparently the lunar cycle of Sephiroth, the moon connected to the plane of Mabar, it's a 46-day orbit. So the ritual has to last 46 days as well, throughout the full moon, throughout a full cycle of Sephiroth. And so it'll drain a hit die at least one, it drains a hit die each day. And if you don't have 46 hit dice, you die from it. However, there is a way out, which is you can feed it hit dice from other sentient creatures instead, but you're trapped inside of the ritual, so you can't go fetch and kill people. You have to have minions that are willing to go fetch and kill people for you. And Solzu does. He's got some Emerald Claw allies that are willing to go fetch some people for them. But they get greedy. So they realize that if they kill Solzu in the process of him creating it, then they can step in and replace him and cut him out. So as a result, when the characters arrive and start messing around and decide whether they want to let that ritual fulfill or not, Solzu's in an incredibly precarious place, where all you gotta do is mess with him a little bit and he's gonna die, which causes the ritual to collapse, which causes the Yugoloth to form, which causes the characters to have a boss fight with the Yugoloth and whatever undead, whatever Emerald Claw minions remain alive at the time. And if they're victorious, they can claim the Eye of Mabar, and depending on what plot hook you're using, you'll either destroy it or return it to whoever provided you the plot hook, whether it's Aether Academy or the 12 or the Gatekeepers or Church of the Silver Flame. A whole bunch of people are really, really interested in what's going on with this particular artifact. Either there to fetch it or to destroy it. Depends on your attitude towards the planet. Like the Church of the Silver Flame obviously would love to have this item destroyed, as would the Gatekeepers. But the 12 want it, and Aether Academy wants it back. And then there's some other plot lines. It's like, what is this? Exactly. How do we get this out of our life? Like you're a villager that like part of the village community that gets attacked, and like, I don't want any of this. I just want everyone to go away so we can be quiet. So there's different ways you can approach the adventure depending on what your character's goals are inside of it. So that's a lot of fun. And we spend a decent amount of time walking through alternate plot hooks that you can use in the scenario. Because one of the ideas here is that if a professional DM is looking for repeatable content in Eberron, this one is designed for tournament play, one-shots, short adventures, as well as being integrated into a fuller campaign. There's a lot of options there. I want to market it that way. For those that are curious, I wanted to provide updates. We'll be doing lunch. We'll be doing a lunch develop stream today. That'll be at 1:30 Seattle time, which will be 4:30 East Coast. And we'll run that for maybe an hour or so today. We'll be continuing to develop martial powers. We'll go through the rest of the subclasses that are in the player's handbook for 2024's Warlock. And then we're going to rebuild the scaffold and sally forth with artificers. So I'm not anticipating any changes to the Warlock subclasses, and we've already gone through the artificer before. We're just revisiting it, building out the scaffold, making sure we like how everything is before we drop it into the book. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with this. We're going to move on to the next Yugoloth after this, the Ultraloth. Let me grab that real quick and just put a little tick in like that. And drop it in a little bit. Okay, cool. That's it. Press the button, merge down, and there we go. Color. Here's the black and white version. Much simpler. Maybe we'll gussy up that shell at some point, but for now, that's good enough. Yeah. Okay. Great. So there is the Yugoloth, and now let's work on our Ultraloth. So we can seal that. Here's our Ultraloth art. Number 1. Wizards of the Coast, thank you. And I forgot who had done this one, but we gave them a shout out a couple weeks ago. Let's start here, and then let's drop down here. So you can see here that the Ultraloth, as is written, is a biocular creature, but when this is created by the crystal, by the Eye of Mavar, it'll be a Cyclops instead, just like the Yugoloth is. See, Yugoloth Cyclops. Normally, a Yugoloth doesn't have eyes at all. This one has one. This Ultraloth normally has 2 eyes, but ours only has 1. That's how you can tell. That's how you can tell he's a keeper. So this is the idea that we have so far, that the creature is breaking out of the chrysalis that's formed around the caster in the ritual. I'm gonna do like that. We're messing around with shape and form right now. I like the idea of it like bursting out of the top of the crystal, just to remind you where we're coming from here. So here's the chrysalis that forms during the course of the adventure. The ritual of the caster and the eye are trapped inside of here, and is basically liquefying the caster while he's performing the ritual. And then he hatches from that with an open portal, if successful, like we were talking about earlier, and becomes an Ultraloth. So I don't that aspect of the adventure isn't really spelled out. So I don't think Solzu knows he's going to die. All it just describes is the ritual process, and that there's sacrifices that are necessary. And his team assesses that, you know, this means sentient life that has to be sacrificed to the ritual. So they're in the process of. The original idea was that they were going to they hire these Red Wolf mercenaries that are veteran soldiers from the last war. They're military police, they can control areas, so they're trying to make sure that nobody comes in and messes around with their operations. So they hire these mercenaries. But the other use of the mercenaries is to start siphoning off members of the company and sacrificing them to the ritual. And but when they show up to the research facility where they're performing this ritual, they realize that there's a bunch of refugee farms that have been co-opted along the edge of the Carnwoods. It's like, okay, well, we were expecting trouble if we harvested the mercenaries, but and we were ready for that. But if we're instead going to pick up villagers, chances are no one gives a shit about these guys. So let's just go ahead and scoop up a bunch of villagers and sacrifice them instead, and preserve our relationship with the mercenaries as long as we can in case we need them more. So they shifted their plan upon arrival and started collecting villagers, and that's how the adventure gets on your radar. People are missing. There's military in the forest. Now there's monsters in the forest, and the military won't say why. No one knows what's going on. And technically, these are people that they know they're not supposed to be here. They're undocumented. So they're having a hard time seeking help. But they do finally they do reach out for help, and Fort Bastion deputizes the characters to go investigate what's happening. And so they come in blind, not, pardon the pun with the eye and everything. They come in not knowing anything that's going on and have to piece it together themselves. But they'll find prisoners that are ready to be sacrificed. They're going to find the necromancers, obviously all the undead. The Red Wolf mercenaries are super nervous about what's going on here. So if when your characters are deputized and given legal authority to ask questions and potentially arrest people, the mercenaries are like, yeah, this is like way crazier than we thought was going to happen here. So you guys are we're not going to get in your way at all. And if your team attempts to make allies out of the mercenaries, they will, and they can flip them on the necromancers and help them secure the facility, etc., etc. So it's a really great setup for the players. And then these mercenaries, they're out of a gig, so your team can potentially hire them as allies if you want to make a bastion in this area to oversee the villages. They're going to continue having problems, so there's going to need to be somebody here keeping an eye on them. So the team can volunteer to do that, or be assigned by the sheriffs if they want to keep working with them for additional adventure and revenue. And then the team can take over the facility as their own actual bastion, and secure it so that nobody else comes in and takes it again. That's a good idea. And then your team can decide if they actually want to try to use it for something, or if they are really just going to do a hard conversion. It's a pretty cool fort. So it's got a lot of opportunities for folks, and we'll have to provide a non-ruined version of it for people that actually want to make bastions out of it. And it's deep enough underground that it actually straddles a cavern entrance to the Underdark, further Underdark, the Kyber, which is what Underdark is called in the Eberron setting. Oh, this guy's looking cool. And we're having a great rain today here in Seattle. Very rainy day. I love the rain. I'm from Missouri, where it's the expression there is, if you don't like the weather, just wait a minute. Because it changes. It really does. It's the Midwest, man. It's the heartland of the country. All the weather systems kind of collide over the Midwest, like Missouri, Illinois, Ohio, Kansas, Oklahoma. That block of 750-ish miles or whatever. Constantly being hit by conflicting weather systems. Missouri is actually the calmest of the areas. It's on the Mississippi, though, and that floods occasionally, so you have that. But that's rarely an issue. I like this. This is getting like a real War of the Worlds kind of vibe going for me. I like it. Let's make sure we stay grounded. Cool. Bring this over a bit. It's probably too big, but I like how it looks though. So, cheers to that. Separated. Oh, I just have to work out the clavicle and stuff like that, and I don't have to worry about. I like how the head is sitting right now, so I don't want to mess with it. So it's easier just to start up a new layer to build out the underlying infrastructure or the skeletal system of how this thing sits. Here, I want to have kind of like a tilt forward sort of orientation to it. So I'm going to angle its body downward like this. Ribs come around like this. Rib cage here collapses in like that. I acknowledge that the anatomy of how humans work isn't really necessary, potentially not necessary for monsters, but they're often shaped like humanoids anyway, regardless of like what anatomy they do or don't need. Next week's going to be a little bit of a different schedule. I've got stuff to do downtown on Thursday. It's probably... I should still be on Thursday night. Maybe later than usual. Hard to say. Maybe the same. But I know that there's things that need to be attended to in Seattle on Thursday, and it's a day job thing. So we're having to recalibrate. All of us, we all have to recalibrate our schedule for the week. So my lunchtime adventure, which is normally on Wednesday, is going to be on Monday next week. So oh yeah, that's not going to disrupt anything. Never mind, because I stream on Tuesday lunch now, not Monday lunch. I was doing Monday lunches for a while, but then our work calendar switched, so I wasn't able to do that anymore, so I moved into Tuesdays, and yeah, it looks like Tuesdays are turning out to be a pretty stable day. So never mind, you didn't need to know that. Well, we picked up 2 new players, so we've got a roster of 6 right now, so we've got a proper West March starting to come together. We basically set what day as a team we're going to be available. Like, what day is the DM available? That's the most important part. And whatever day the DM is available, and I stabilize it mostly on Wednesday unless there's a request to change it. But I stabilize on Wednesday, so whoever can show up on Wednesdays who plays. It's less of a West March. West March is traditionally the players decide when they're going to play, and if you're in a round robin, it's whatever DM can show up will help make it run. But the way that we're formatting it currently is we run one adventure at a time. Whoever can show up puts a coin in the machine for the day and helps progress the story. And once we get to the end of the adventure, we do a debrief And then we do, since it's a Spelljammer asteroid belt mining operation campaign. So all their adventures are the results of complications or discoveries from a asteroid mining company that the team controls. So, hey, we're noticing there's weird ruins on this asteroid. Before we go trying to break up that rock, why don't you send in some delvers to go explore it to see what's there. So that's what the team is doing currently, is they're delving an asteroid where a structure was found. And it seems to be some sort of a dungeon fortress sort of affair built into this asteroid. They're like, oh, that's weird. Let's check that out before somebody flags it and see if there's something we can quietly salvage from it before we have to potentially report its presence. So they're quickly trying to dungeon run the thing to gather any interesting loot out of it before having to surrender it over to the government. Here, and let's see. Not a very dynamic pose, but I'm liking the anatomy. The body is good. So let's distort this part of it. And now we can warp. Yeah, like that. There we go. Now we got an angle going here, so we can build in hip bone structure here. I think I want to fire up another layer, a third layer. We got the head, we got the shoulders, we have the hip and spine, and now we're building out legs here. He emerges from the egg, triumphant in creating a new path. See, if the Yugoloth is in charge of the portal, then you can lead an army of hell or of Mabar into the world of Eberron and potentially jumpstart a global invasion. Which is what's got the gatekeepers pissed off about this place. So like, no, don't you go bring no coterminous reality here. That is not. We do not have a destruction event scheduled for this planet for another X hundred years. So back off, man. You're off plan with us. This is the sort of the natural order of planar invasion. My God, it is. I've got a window and a door open because it's raining outside, but it is muggy out this morning. Holy Hannah, I am feeling the thick. Let's take a sip of water. Oh my God, it's coffee. I love it. That's not water at all. That's not water at all. All right, I'm going to get a 20-minute timer going. We've got about 40 minutes left today. So let's see if we can find a groovy pose. forward, like back. Tilt forward. Skew. Pull back. Actually, that's starting to feel better. And leg. Side here, that feels good. And then we can elbow goes to the bottom of the ribs, like this, up like that. Arm stuff going on here. Here. I mean, it's a bit of a perch. Maybe the head's just too big. Maybe that's what we need to do. It's better. I don't think it's quite there though. I mean, we're starting to get into the Chrysalis's large size. So it occupies a 10 by 10 space. So I can afford to have, here's the cracking of the chrysalis around Yugoloth like this. It breaks out of the surface of it. Like, you know, it's an egg. So let's bring this arm in a bit. It's a bit out of control. Just a snig. There, and those ribs are too. This guy needs to be slim, like Slim Man Slim. So that feels good. It's almost there. The pose isn't quite there. I think it's not quite there. Block that and drop it down. I'm gonna have to fade it out. It's just not quite there. So let's try again. This time we're just going to do a real blunt skeleton. here, ribs, hips. So if we're going to do a leg, comes out here, and we have another leg that stays down inside here. We need to, I think, have more structural support of this thing trying to rise out. So maybe we can do something like an arm here that comes forward. And then the other arm, since we'll have our shoulders like this, and the rib cage comes off like that to accommodate the shape moving like that. That puts this arm back here. And then we have our rib cage here. And that pulls this leg back in. And we got our hips like that. Our foot here. Hand back here. So now we're looking at kind of like from a sidelong view. I'm not sure if that's the... We could have the head here and it's looking at you. I don't hate that move. Ooh, that's not bad. Maybe. Should we tilt this leg forward a bit more so it's got more of a crouch going on? Probably yes. So far I'm liking this a lot. Egg bursting out of it with necrotic energy flowing out. So I'm gonna have like kind of like a thinking like a Havoc, like X-Men Havoc style blackened energy with like white larbles, like greenish warbles of energy. Not bad. We
we can swing that head around if it's going to be like that. We can bring this around like this. So it's looking more at camera. I don't know if I want it looking at the camera or not. I don't like that it's looking this direction. The team is it's a CR13 creature. The team is not supposed to face this, but we make note of it because that's where the DM may decide they want to go. Like, this is the goal of the artifact, is to have it hatch. Like the eye could consider itself an egg and is looking for someone that it can dupe into feeding it the energy that it needs to become a real boy. That feels right. Peel that away for a second and get that up here. Oh, it sounds like it stopped raining. It's not unusual for it to rain like from 3 a.m. till 8, something like that, and then be gone for the day, get burned off by what remains of the summer light, and the rain will overcome more of the day. It'll start late. It'll start earlier towards midnight, and it'll last longer through the day. And then once we get into November, December, it can rain all day for multiple days, which is amazing. I'm gonna pull that arm out like this. Structure here into a bicep, here like that, come around here like this, drop it down a tig, there we go. That's starting to feel a bit more plausible. So if that's going to be a thing, let's fade that down. We can fade that down a bit. This will become our scrap. We're getting there. I'm starting to like these poses more, but this is how it goes. You have to do, sometimes you have to do iterations, various. What happened to my music? I apparently muted my speakers somehow. Have I been silent for the past X minutes? Let's, hold on, let's go back. Egg bursting out of it. That's where the DM may decide they want to go. Like, this is the goal of the artifact, is to... Okay, cool. So, yeah, I hit my mute button over here, so I was like, why can't I hear any music? But apparently that didn't disrupt my feed, so that's good. All right, right. So we're trying to figure this out. I'm liking how we're coming along. There, that's where we're at. Well, hey, what's up, random man in the basement? Hey, it's going really well. We're making Yugoloths. So for Eberron Adventure, I'm not sure if you're a D&D enthusiast or not. I don't recognize you offhand, so maybe you're new to the stream, and if so, well met. Oh, that seems to be a decent angle. So
We're referencing an Ultraloth, which is a CR. If you are familiar with D&D 5e, Ultraloth is a type of daemon that exists in the plane of Mabar, plane of night and undeath. And the adventure that we're creating, where this is happening, there's necromancers using an artifact called the Eye of Mabar, and you do seem to be new, so I will entertain you again here with the book cover that we created. So the Eye of Mabar is an artifact that connects to the plane of Mabar. This is the symbol that is Mabar, this triangle thing. It means Mabar in whatever language it came from. So you create this ritual with the eye that forms a shell around the caster. While you're doing that, it's pulling necrotic energy from the plane of Mabar to create a manifest zone to expand that plane's necrotic influence in the environment where it's being cast in a forest. And it causes the forest to rot away, and it causes the dead to rise, and it becomes a nightmare hellscape sort of thing. So, well, hey, Saz, we're doing, that's what I'm explaining, right? So we're walking through the process here. The Eye of Mabar forms, like when we did the Yugoloth last time, we have the eye drop in. A Yugoloth normally doesn't, here, I'll show you a reference. A Yugoloth normally doesn't have an eye. So when the Eye of Mabar, the ritual that's being used to create the manifest zone, it either succeeds and the caster melts inside of its chrysalis and then reforms as an Ultraloth, a CR13 demon, or it fails and the manifest zone collapses, the ritual fails, and the caster inside dies and becomes a Yugoloth instead. But in either circumstance, since it's the Eye of Mabar, it's like an orb, arcane focus that, again, it's a powerful artifact to create a manifest zone. It becomes the eye on these things' heads. The Arcanoloth has none; it now has one. The Ultraloth normally has two eyes, but when we do it, it'll only have one eye, like a Cyclops. So that's the unique. That's the reason why we need to make tokens for it, because we're creating unique versions of these creatures. And the caster of the ritual doesn't know that like that part of the ritual is left out. By the way, this will kill you, and it will recreate you with the goals, ideals, and bonds of a Yugoloth or either Ultraloth or Yugoloth. If the Yugoloth is created because the ritual failed, it's basically stranded here in the material plane, and it's basically just going to cause chaos and destruction until something brings it down. It'll try to find its way to a more powerful necromancer that might be able to perform the ritual, kill it, and then use the eye to try again. If the ritual is successful and the Ultraloth is formed, that also means that the manifest zone they were creating stabilizes, permanizes, and at the center of it, the nexus, an actual portal to Mabar will be open, and this Ultraloth will be basically the guardian of that gateway, capable of going back and forth between planes and bringing more demons with it when it comes back. So the way that the 8th level adventure is structured is that there's no chance that Solzu, the necromancer performing the ritual, is going to survive. We already know he's dead. So when the team shows up, you're basically going to either have to fight necromancers alongside a Yugoloth, or just a Yugoloth, depending on how the team plays out their options. So either a very difficult battle or a fairly easy battle. But the bigger picture, if it's just a one-shot campaign, like a one-shot adventure, congratulations, you saved the world, and now give that artifact to whatever organization is your plot hook, keep like your quest giver, and give them the artifact so they can do something with it. If it's part of an ongoing quest, now the team is aware of the eye's existence. They can decide if they want to, keep it intact for themselves. If they do want to have it destroyed, there's a theme here. I'll show you guys. Yeah, Yugoloths doing Yugoloth, the Ultraloth today. Let me fetch you the document as it stands right now. So we're using the 10x17 format. I've talked about this in previous episodes, but this 10x17 format here
is the here. You can see that on page there. And I use a fairly modest tablet myself, but it's a 10 by the frame. It's 10 inches tall and 17 inches wide. So this document is also 17 inches wide and 10 inches tall. So it fits perfectly onto a tablet. But if you turn it vertically like this, or let me make it light up so you can see it easier. If you light it up the surface like this is the same size basically as one column. So it's kind of hard to line things up here, but I've done it before. Get that out of the way. But when you're working on, oops. So when we zoom in, we can look at one column. If you do it vertically aligned, it's just one column. So it's and so when we're building the thing, we're trying to break it down so that each thought is like each column has a singular thought to it. So you can look at one column at a time, or if you turn it sideways, you can see the whole page. So artistically, I'm trying to design the full page, so it flows together. So you can look at it all as a single coherent page. But if you want to like have super easy long distance reading, you can turn it vertically and then just have each page line up. You can just slide across the pages. So we'll have illustrations. We'll either span a single column or two or three. Like we can have like a landscape sort of environment that could flow across like the column here. But like this is talking about the three main factions in the adventure: the Emerald Claw necromancers that are running the ritual, the Red Wolf Company, which are mercenaries that they hired. Initially, they hired them as both security and sacrifices, and they didn't tell the Red Wolves this, but hey, we're going to kill off some of your slackers during the process of this ritual so we can keep it going. But then they discover when they get there that, oh wait, there's a bunch of like undocumented refugee, homeless veterans and displaced citizens that are trying to form new communities. And there's this isolated little farming community that's really close by to where this ritual is happening. They're like, well, instead of killing the soldiers, we can just go fetch villagers. They're undocumented. They want to be off the radar. They want to be left alone. They're perfect victims. Who's going to help them? Your characters are. These undocumented communities that are cropping up are tolerated because Karnath needs more food, babies, people now that the war is over. Let's rebuild. So we don't care where you came from. If you're farming for us, that's cool. So these villages pop up. They're undocumented. They're just trying to make a life wherever they can find it. And these guys chose, let's live next to the Carnwood. And this is what they get for it. So the Emerald Claw had to shift plans. They figured initially, well, we'll just kill off some of the, we'll kill off the red wolves and just use all of them for the ritual. But now that we see these villagers, that's going to actually be easier for us. So they're going to go out, they go fetch them, bring them back, sacrifice them to the ritual. And the red wolves are like, what the fuck is going on? And so they get really unstable about this. And so the players, when they show up, and if they use the default storyline, which is being deputized, starting the adventure, you get deputized at Fort Bastion. You now have a badge and the legal authority to ask people questions, arrest them, or kill if necessary. When your team gets in here and you start finding out what the hell is going on, you're like, okay, we need to blow this place apart, and the team can do whatever it is that you decide to do with it. But the reason I peeled up with the document is because there's various alternate plot hooks. The default is that you're deputized, but you could be hired by the 12 to retrieve the artifact for them. You could be hired by Ader Academy to collect the artifact so that they could research it, study it. The Silver Flame can hire you to destroy the Eye and the ritual and the necromancers and anyone involved. Same with the Gatekeepers. Destroy the ritual, drop a gate seal onto the manifest zone so it never activates again, and then bring them the Eye so they can destroy it. And then the last one is you actually have friends and family that live in that village. And they sent you a letter a long time ago. Dear loving adventuring family, if you ever need to hide from trouble, there's a house you can live in here and become a beet farmer if you want, or like turnips or whatever. So like those are the 6 different pathways that all have different objectives inside of the adventure, and it has you approach the information differently, whether you want to go with combat, exploration, or social as your primary pillar of adventure. Throughout the adventure, you can switch gears between, do I want to fight these things or not? Like if you get on the good side of the Red Wolf mercenaries, they'll just stay out of the way. They'll even help contain the environment so the team can deal with it and keep the necromancers from getting away. But if you piss off the Red Wolves, they can fight you the entire time. So you can really swap it around how you want to do it, depending on whether it's a one-shot or part of an ongoing campaign, depending on what the goals of the team are and where the DM is trying to take the adventure. But the reason I peeled open the document in the first place here was to take you down to the end of it, where the appendices are. And so we have like all of the alternate plot hooks. We actually have like different goals and complications and treasures that you can get as a result of whichever guild it is, whatever your plot line is. But one of the like ways to expand the campaign, like expanding the campaign, if you want to keep doing more of this, one of the ideas that we had is that each plane has an artifact like the Eye that if you bond to it and perform the ritual, it'll create a permanent portal to that plane. And there's 13 planes in Eberron in total. And so here's the different artifacts that your team could, like, MacGuffin quest for to attain, and what their associated planes are with. Like the Lantern of Duluth is the Shadowfell, and it creates a black light that shines across and creates shadows, for instance. So we don't go into a lot of detail about what these are. They're just adventure prompts, and you can see like number 13 is we already have the Eye, so we don't have to worry about that. But then we have like this extra column of space over here, and here we can just start drawing different artifacts that would inspire the team to go pursue them. So it's built as a toolkit that you can run it as a one-shot, depending on like how deep into the campaign you want to get. Like if you don't care about the village, I'm just trying to do a one-shot. Cool. Then have the gatekeepers teleport you directly into the manifest zone to start fighting undead and necromancers right away with no. You know the score, you know why you're there, you know what your objectives are, here's your resources and weapons to deal with it, go fight, and that becomes like basically a one-shot combat exploration encounter. As opposed to a longer campaign where you want to gain, you want to build a relationship with the villagers that you run across. Then you can lean into social and exploration, and then once you get to the end, like when you realize they still have hostages and stuff, you might want to build the adventure around a stealth mission to get the hostages out first, and then rebuild, and then go back in again for more combat. So you can frame it differently like that. So yeah, it's got. I'm glad you think it's cool. We've had a new. We had about 20 different people play through it, and we had 3 different DMs run it, and it went well. There's a lot of different ways you can play with it. So, but it's designed to be a resource tool for your characters to basically, if you want to, gain authority in the region, so that you can use it as a setup for a longer campaign, and using that area as a bastion. It leads to the Underdark. Obviously, there's planar stuff going on. It's in the eastern Carnwood, south of which there's major trouble from Talenta, because here, I'll show you this. We're on tangents here real quick, but I don't care. Open. Let's go to Crystals of Mabar, and then art intro. Here's the region map. It's still rough, but it's work in progress. So Ader Academy had the artifact. Fort Bastion is your main point of contact. Here's the Carnwood. Here's where the Thorpe named Peace is at, and here's where the Manifest Zone is at. So I mean, we'll clean this up. We're going to replace this stuff with better fonts. This is the font that I created for the book cover, so we can use a similar font to this for these little headers in here. So that's another task I have to perform. But you can see all through here, south of Tarek and to the east, Talenta Plains. This is just heartland. This is just grassland that's currently overrun with fucking halflings on monsters, because the last wars kept all of the resources of Karnath southward and eastward bound because of Sire and all the other 3 nations off to the west that have been in trouble. Now that the war is ended, people can move upward, north, and westward, eastward to fill in the gaps, to try to repopulate the nation and to start being productive again. But the sheriff that hires you out of Fort Bastion's main concerns is halfling invasion and keeping Tarek safe from being raided, right? So they're really busy, so they don't have time for these little bullshit communities. That's why you get hired on to handle all the bullshit. When you demonstrate that you can handle it, your 8th level characters, of course you can fucking handle it. But you assert your power there, and that starts building an opportunity for you to have growing influence in this region. And if you're interested in fighting halflings or doing like elven stuff or like getting on with like Dargoon, which is down this direction, there's a lot of like non-Droam monster type stuff that your team can mess around with. And if you're into that sort of stuff, this is a really cool place for you to set up. If you instead want to do like this plane hopping artifact stuff, then we set that stage for you. If you want to dive into Kyber and get into planar stuff with Dalcor and stuff like that, there's an entrance into Kyber here as well. So it's a really great hub that's far enough away from civilization, like civilized rulership, that you'll have a free hand to do what you want, but there's enough civilian population around that you have stakes to keep them safe. So it's a really great setup for a Dominion campaign if your team gets into, like, I'm not a fan of the Bastion system, but they have that Bastion idea. They're trying to reintroduce the concept of domain. A Dominion style is when you establish a place that you now have ownership of, and your campaign revolves around keeping and developing that region, finding the monsters, the dungeons, the threats, the neighboring tribes and nations that'll give you trouble, and then asserting your dominance in the area and building a community, a nation, a home that you as players want your characters to have. That's the idea behind Dominion style place. That was way back in the days of Beckme. So this will be included in the adventure, like all these assets and stuff. So anyway, that's probably enough rambling for now. I'll get back to it. But that's what we're working on. That's the mission. So now I'm just trying to find a cool pose. So this guy is coming out of the crystal that built the ritual, and I can see that the pose is there. It just doesn't feel. I have to get a good feel for how sinister do I want this. How can I set this up properly? Like, that arm is too low, so we should really have a higher arm here. That'll change the pose a bit. Where are we at? 7. Yeah, we still got a few minutes. So we'll be back doing this. Oh yeah, and I'm going to be back today at 1:30 Seattle time. That's about a little less than 6 hours from now. We'll be on. Last night we were working on the martial powers conversion for the Point Warlock, and so we're working on Warlock subclasses. I don't think I'm going to have to make any changes to them, but I have to review them. So lunch today is going to be reviewing the subclasses for the Warlock, and then the Artificer. We'll be diving into Artificer, looking at how to change, if we need to make any changes to the class to accommodate martial powers. We've done this, we did this maybe like 2 months ago, but now that we're more educated with how 2024 works, I wanted to revisit that, make sure the infusions that we have make sense, make sure the scaffolding still works for where the Artificer's at. We won't be having any updates for 2024 for quite some time. So, yeah, that's on our agenda today, and then we'll be back tomorrow morning to continue building this Yugoloth, and then Thursday we'll be back again, probably coloring the Yugoloth, hopefully, and then Thursday night we'll be on to continue working on probably Point Warlocks and the Pacts and Patrons of Ravnica book that we created. Those have to be reformatted for the 2024 rules. So we're going to be doing a lot of Spellpoint design work in the afternoon and evening streams. while we continue using Eberron. And then when I'm off screen, I do like those page layouts you were seeing. That's what I'm working on off screen. And as long as I can get a couple pages done a day, we're going to be okay. My goal is to have the layouts for that done by November so that I can start importing those pages directly here into Photoshop for us to paint on the page. Like take all these different assets and drop them in and then merge them into the document. And whatever spots are left over, we'll create new illustrations for relevant to whatever's on the page. So if you want to go through that process or like see how that process works, I've got a number of different streams that I've ran in the past. Playlists. We have let's see, the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration. That's about 400 episodes of us basically building out the whole book and different concepts with the Spelljammer book. We have the Tap and Tap Burn Elemental Key walkthrough that we walk through all the pages when we publish that. We also have Point Warlocks, which we built a lot of artwork for the spell points. Oh yeah, the Elemental Key production. The Elemental Key book is basically creating the 4 elements, air, earth, fire, water, as a magic paradigm. Instead of the 8 schools or the 5 colors of magic, we use the 4 elements like Airbender, like Avatar, and created a mana system that the Way of the 4 Elements could use as a monk to use that. But now we're expanding that 4 elements and creating sub-schools like the School of Lightning, the School of Mist, stuff like that we'll be able to have as a full elemental themed magic system, parallel to what the 5-color mana system can do, that both are designed to replace the 8 schools of magic. But this is where we built that book initially, so you can see us building all the artwork for that stuff. So that's what I do. I make role-playing games. We build it out here. We hire an editor and they do that. Then we come back, we do layouts. Once the layouts are done, we do all the artwork in the book. Once the artwork is done, we publish on the DMsGuild. You can grab it. So, yeah, there you go. If you're interested in the Elemental Key book, it's part of the Color Mana spell point bundle, because the Elemental Key book also uses Gruul magic, blue, red, and green. But yeah, you can see the creation of that book here. So we have these elemental tokens. We have fire for red, and we have blue for water, and then we have green here depicted as a leaf. So red, blue, and green for the three colors of magic. But then the 4 elements are air, earth, fire, and water, and you could ignore the nature element. Or if you wanted to have that, you could, but we only designed it as a 4 elemental system. So you can check this stuff out too if you want. It has an extensive full preview. So if you go through the book and you go through the preview the walkthrough that I have, you can basically see me talking about how the book works. But now that the Way of the 4 Elements is gone, it's been replaced with the Elementalist, that kind of leaves this in the Nether. Like, what am I going to do with that? Well, I'm going to have to build out a full paradigm now. Make it more. But we'll get to that. All things in time. And once I'm done doing all that stuff, and we got the Spelljammer expansions that we're doing on top of the book that we built, once we get all that set up, then I can start. That should be like maybe in about 18 months, I'll have all the things that I want to do with 5th edition potentially done, and so we can then move on to Kickstarters and start building out bigger toolkits for things beyond just 5e. We'll see where that leads me. Like that. That feels pretty good. Thank you for the timer.
letting me know that I've ran out of time. So I've got maybe like 2 minutes. So let's put that there. So yeah, we'll be back in, it's 8 o'clock. We'll be back in 5.5 hours to continue the Martial Powers project. And boy, I'm excited about that. I'm a big Strixhaven enthusiast, as well as MTG in general. So the Martial Powers project is inspired by having a mana system for all 13 classes. And once that mana system's in place, then you can do cool things like Strixhaven, like having a scholastic, like having a sports scholarship to have barbarians and monks and fighters and rogues be a part of Strixhaven, learning how to control their mana, and being Mage Tower participants. So that's an idea that I've been playing around with. Because I think Mage Tower is cool, but I also think it's lame to like have a fighter at Strixhaven. It's like, what are you doing? And like all fighters here are going to be Eldritch Knights. That seems plausible, but limited. Like, what happens to the rest of it? Like, what is a barbarian supposed to do at Strixhaven? Well, if all classes uses a mana supply to perform different class features and stuff, then Strixhaven isn't so much about spellcasting, it's about controlling your mana. Whether you're doing it as a martial character, or you're doing it as an academician, or as a cleric, whatever your source of mana is, you need to learn to control it, and that's what Strixhaven is for. Kind of like Xavier's School of Mana Pool students. Hey, what's up, Pineapple? Man, I am fantastic. Thanks for swinging by. That's like a good one. Very good streams. Lots. Yeah. I'm glad you guys think this stuff is cool. My day's coming to an end right now, but we'll be back, like I said, for lunch to continue working on mechanical development. That arm is a little stiff right now, so I'm thinking we cut it off. Just cut it off. There you go. You're gone, buddy. Go back in here. There. You got a leg here. It has to be more of a crouch. That's the problem that I was missing there. He's not tightly wound enough. It might actually be worth my time to look at some Spider-Man artwork tonight to see really good tight crouching. But the stance here, I think, is already better than it was. We may be able to do something like this. Doesn't look very fiendish though, so that's what we have to work on next. Once I get the pose right, then we can work on sinisterness. Have like Havoc, the mutant Havoc from Marvel has that blarbly black energy, the kinetic energy that the chaos that he emits. I'm thinking that's the sort of blurble gloop that's going to be floating up out of this egg around him, like little globules of necrotic power that will just be floating out of the egg as he crawls out of it. But again, this isn't supposed to be something that happens in the adventure. I'm just providing a depiction of it so the DM has reference, like, so you have an idea. And the DM may be like, no, I think that's really cool. I think you should be able to complete it. It's like, okay, great. You go ahead and complete it. Here's your token, your scene art of that reveal as the necromancer emerges from the chrysalis in command of the manifest zone, ready to destroy the world. Engage. Take it from there. There. All right, I am out of time. So, oh shit, it's 8 o'clock. Yeah, I gotta bounce. So I'm here every day, Monday through Friday in the morning like this, same time. At lunchtime on Tuesdays and Fridays, just like today, around 1:30 Seattle time or about 4:30 East Coast. And then on Mondays and Thursday nights, like last night, we're on stream again. And then Saturday morning, I have a brunch stream, typically from like 9:30 a.m. till noon, Seattle time. So I'll be back later on today. I'll be back tomorrow as well. If you guys think this stuff is cool, like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Catch out my stuff. And hopefully I get to see everyone tomorrow. So thanks a lot, guys. Later, guys. Talk to you soon. Cheers.